One. Hey everyone, welcome back to the realm. My name's Gina.
I'm Rich.
I'm
Jen.
Rob.
Hey, it's Jen and Rob. They were
Hey, all
competing for
right.
who's going to go first. So, guys, we're back with our weird weekly news for this season because we hit the ground running with this newest season right into our, as Brian would call it, our Scaretober. And so now we're back into programming, regular programming for the rest of the year. So that means, folks, every week we are going to give you weird news. It could be old news, news from around the world and beyond. Maybe we got messages from, from somewhere up there, but we're going to give you some weird news. It may be paranormal. It may just be someone getting stuck in a pit toilet. I think that was one of my favorite stories that Rich brought up. So
Yeah, that was an early one.
if you guys are just tuning in with us for the first time, what we do is, first of all, go watch the rest of our episodes. But apart from that, how we decide who goes first has evolved. Rich and I used to do rock, paper, scissors, but our team has grown, happily grown. And so now we decided to switch to the wheel of names. Dun, dun, dun. So historically, Rich loses every time. He usually has to go first. So I'm going to share my screen, guys, so we can do this. For those of you that are listening on your podcast, you can find this episode on YouTube so you can see all of our smiling faces and this wheel of names. Are we ready, folks?
See,
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Go.
big money, big money.
Oh!
Oh!
All right.
I'll tell you.
Woo, Rich!
You are a winner. It says like it's a good thing. Oh, you're a winner.
Well, at least you come off the wheel. So, yeah, you're a winner, but you're now the first one to go. We knew that was going to happen.
There's a good news, bad news part every time.
Yep, we knew that was going to happen.
Good news is you won. Bad news is you're going to go first. But the good news is no one can take my story now because
that's true.
They got to change theirs. I don't have to change mine.
Oh.
So, there's pluses and minuses all over. All right. I'm going to talk about Jimmy Hoffa. You guys hear the latest news?
No, do tell.
Gina's shaking her head. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I just, I don't know, this past week, there was a news story out there and it was covered by local news around here. There's some cold case investigators, not official investigators. They believe they know where Jimmy Hoffa is buried. And
the Jet Stadium.
What's that?
Isn't he in the Jet Stadium?
That's what you would think. They're saying he's buried in Milwaukee, where the Milwaukee Brewers Stadium was.
Wait, the new one or the old one?
Old County Stadium.
No way! Are you serious?
That's what they're saying, and I'm hoping that. And when I get to the end of the story, you're going to hear. But they actually reached out to authorities, FBI, stuff like that, and they're actually on board. They've had dogs out that sniff for remains. They had They had that, and they had somebody else out there, and it corresponded. I forget what. Oh, it was ground penetrating radar. They used both, and when they did the ground penetrating radar, it was weird. They said because it would only read like 4.5 feet down, and it would stop like it was like a fresh clay layer there, like someone had disturbed the ground and then covered it back up, so there was a different layer where the clay was, so you couldn't get down there. But it was in the exact same spot where they found that where the dogs were sniffing. So there's some stuff there that they had evidence that they took to probably take the next step. And I think I remember enough about it. I can tell you when it's going to happen. They mentioned with the Brewers in the postseason, which we all know didn't get very far. They would have had to coordinate, with baseball, because they can't be doing any of this, forensic stuff with 50,000 people in the parking lot having brats and beer, So
right.
Jimmy Hoffa, if anybody doesn't know, disappeared in July of 1975, and he was declared legally dead in 1982. He was the leader of the Teamsters Union from 57 to 71. So when he disappeared in 75, everybody kind of knows it was mafia related. I think everybody, all of us probably, when you think of Jimmy Hoffa, you think of the mafia, the mob. He disappeared. Somebody, cement grave. So I think that's about as much as I ever knew. So I can't sit here and tell you everything he's done. I just know that was always, kind of like the the guy that jumped out of the plane, DB Cooper.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's something like that, where something happened, but you don't know the ending. Like at the beginning here, Rob says he's buried in the Jet Stadium. I've heard Shea Stadium, a lot of baseball or football, sport related things, in New York City or whatever. That's been the general consensus. Is he's in the ground somewhere out there. You're never going to find him. I mean, there's been different documentaries. There's been different stories all about it. Take your pick. I mean, he's buried here. He's buried here. There's no real proof. Nobody knows, and no one to this day until now has come up with something that they say, hey, wait a minute, he's not there. So the story is the volunteer cold case investigators I told you about, they believe that he is buried under the third base side of the old county stadium, which everyone knows is no longer there. Now we have American Family Field, Miller Park, whatever. But
it'll that always be Miller Park to me.
Right. I mean, to this day, I think everybody still calls it that. Unless you're there.
I had that conversation last night because we drove past there.
Did you?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a rough one. Everybody was used to Miller Park, and then they tried changing it on you. So, but Miller Park is situated where the old parking lot would have been for County Stadium, because when they started building that, they were still using County Stadium. So they built that stadium behind it in one of the outlots, and then when that stadium was done, then they tore down County Stadium, and now they have like a little league park there, and they believe that it is more like the first base side of that field, which would have been third base side in County Stadium. They say that he was buried there in They believe that he was buried there in 1995 secretly under the third base before it was demolished 5 years later. So they believe that in 1995 somebody snuck into County Stadium, dug up third base area, put Jimmy Hoffa in there, covered it all back up, and nobody noticed it. I'd be curious to find some old footage of Brewers games and see if you can see what that field looks like about that time, and see if all of a sudden there was something weird in the grass or whatever.
As to why they would have exhumed a 20-year-old corpse and reburied it?
Yeah, because he went missing. I just looked in 1975 because I remember when I was a kid living in Cleveland, Ohio, my dad was a member of that Teamsters union, and he lost all of his money. Like every penny that he paid into it was gone. It was taken.
I hear stories about
his
that.
His whole retirement was gone. And I remember as a kid seeing these huge signs above the freeway. People would put like, "Where's Hoffa?" and like it's crazy. I remember that as a kid. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right, and that's like I said, that's about the extent that I know about him or knew about him, or when you hear the name, that's the first place you go to. You remember what everybody told you back when you were a kid and it happened, or what you were hearing yourself, which I'm sure back then we heard and just didn't understand some of the stuff you're hearing. But now, I mean, I don't know. All right, Rob asked a question. He said, "How did this come about? Who's thinking, hey, we need to find Jimmy Hoffa. He's in Milwaukee." Well, the idea was that these case breakers that do this independent test, this research, one of her uncles was a corrupt cop. This is the story, and that they had a Ace of Spades playing card, like a card for playing poker, that had written on it in black marker. Says Jay, can I share my screen?
Yeah, you should be able to. Hang on, let me just.
I got share screen here.
Oh, you do? Okay, good.
Yeah. Here we go. Can you see that?
Yeah. Yep. I see.
Yep. See this playing card right here? It has Jay Hoffa. This guy here. This is the key to it right here. This person had ties to that mafia and the mob, and he's the one that had this card that ended up in her uncle's hands, and he was a crooked cop. So somehow they are going through stuff, and this is what they find is this thing here that's telling them third base, Milwaukee ballpark, and the exact date, 9/16/95. Now, why would they have that? It's like basically a map of where Jimmy Hoffa is buried. This and the sniffing dogs and the ground penetrating, all those things together apparently have been enough evidence that they're going to look into it. They're going to go the next step and probably have to exhume that area to see what's there, because that's the next step. They have enough circumstantial evidence, I guess you'd call it, that nobody else has ever had or has even have come up with. They're gonna find out if Jimmy Hoffa is buried in Milwaukee after all these years, hearing he's in Shea Stadium or actually Jets. Where do they play? They probably played in Shea Stadium at one time or something. That's probably why you heard Jets. I heard Met Stadium, stuff like that.
So are they saying that's where he was originally buried?
No. They believe he was moved here, so he could have very well originally been buried.
Now, why do they think he was moved?
I guess the general consensus is that you would think he was in New Jersey at the time, is where he originally was. And they're going by, if he disappeared there, how did he get to Milwaukee? They're not necessarily saying that. I read it someplace. I don't think it was in this article. It was when I was at work. So, me being the good worker that I am, I don't listen to evidence when I'm working. I don't.
You were on lunch.
But I don't remember, but I thought they said that. Yeah, they said something about they believe he was moved there. So obviously he wasn't always buried there, is what they're going off of. So, and this is
what I remembered from the story that, it was a while ago, was that he was actually in a concrete pillar in the Jets.
Right, that's some stuff. Yep.
Yeah, and that they had X-rayed it, and they thought there was a skeleton in there, something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
He was in concrete, so that's why I thought it was interesting that.
Right.
Nobody knows for sure, right, until you break it up, and they couldn't break the pillar out because it was a load-bearing pillar or something. Of course.
Yep.
Is there like a timeline of when they're planning to actually?
No, they didn't say. They didn't say when they were going to be doing that. They said they were going to look into it, but they weren't sure if they get it done yet this November, because of depending what the weather was going to be like with the ground, and also on the Milwaukee Brewers schedule, because if they had made it to the postseason further, when those games would have been scheduled, would have been conflicting with what they wanted to do, because obviously they'll have to, it'll be more of a secure area. And I have not heard that it actually happened, so I don't know if they did it already, and we're going to find out. That they said that that's what they're going to do. They're going to dig that up and they're going to check. So, but you got to figure, if somehow they're going off the theory that in 1995 his body was put there, from wherever he was, I'd be curious, because they say that the soil looked like it was disturbed in that area for some reason. Why? I don't understand, because how do you know? I'd like to see video. I'd like to watch a game or something. ESPN or somebody's got to have.
I just feel like this is going to turn into another Geraldo Rivera special when he tried to open up.
I think
Al vault.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because of the things we do, and we're paranormal investigators, when you hear stuff like that, you got to go the next. You got to I got to be sure. So I want to see. I want to see the game on the 14th, and then I want to see the game after the 15th, or on the 15th of September, when they said it was in 1995 or whatever. I want to see what that looked like, Could you see? Because remember, County Stadium was natural grass. It was an outdoor stadium. Whatever. I mean, I'm sure if they're related, if they're involved with the mafia, the mob, whatever, I'm sure there's enough corruption or whatever that runs rampant. They're going to be able to get you in County Stadium at night, whatever, and you're going to be able to do that. But for no one to notice it.
Yeah. There's a lot of mafia in Milwaukee and Chicago, all those things. So you never know.
I mean,
maybe we'll have to do an episode on Jimmy Hoffa. That might be kind of cool.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see what actually happens with this. I mean, like you said, it could be another elaborate scheme, and it's just going to lead somebody down another rabbit hole. They're going to dig it up and go, well, he's not here. So,
but rabbit holes are so fun.
with as great as this evidence was, circumstantial evidence was, and it still didn't lead to him, then you got to go, man, But I guess that's why it's, to this day, we're still talking about it. Kind of like the DB Cooper thing. And every now and then you see that brought up in the news. I'll see it on different, Yahoo News or whatever. I'll see stuff pop up and, FBI has new crack in this, It's like, it seems like it always happens.
I know. And I can't wait to see how, I'm going to put you in charge of, I'm going to ask you if you would please be in charge of following up with that story, if anything
I will, because I'm looking to see what happens there. I'm interested. That'd be cool.
I know. What if he really is there?
I mean,
but then how do they prove it? Is their family to do DNA testing on? I don't know.
You got to think they've got something on them.
They have to.
I would think so.
All right. Well, if anybody's listening, tell us what you think. You can comment on our YouTube channel or come to our Facebook and let us know. We put links to our video and audio on our Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you. All right. I think we're going to have time for one more because we got to go right into another recording after this. But let's see. Who is going to be the next victim? I hope it's Rob so he can see winner. Johnny.
Look at all those confetti things.
Look at, you're a winner too. All right.
Okay,
couple wieners.
So next episode, Rob and I will be on the board, and whoever else joins us new. And that's how we'll do it next time. So, Jenny, what do you got for us?
All right. Hopefully you don't hear my dogs howling in the background because they're making all kinds of ruckus. But I have a story related to a picture that came from space. And the headline of this from August of 2023 said, "People are freaking out over a question mark seen in space. Scientists can explain." So what it does is it actually talks about how this shape came to be. And it talked about how this was kind of in the background. People didn't really see it right away, and then they noticed it. And then it went viral on social media sites like X, formerly known as Twitter, and Reddit. And one of the Reddit fans had made a comment saying, "The aliens know we've found them, and now they're just messing with us." So the photo shows a tightly bound pair of young stars and Herbig Haro 4647, surrounded by a disk of gas and dust, and dotted by distant galaxies and stars in the background, created a picture that looks like a question mark. So ultimately, if you're interested in what is a Herbig Haro, I actually looked that up just to see. And what they are is they're bright patches of nebulosity associated with newborn stars. So the reason why this particular item was so fascinating is because typically when we are shaping things in space, it takes millions of years, whereas these are only a few thousand years old. So these galaxies that are merging together actually created a shape. And I'll share my screen so that you can see what the shape looks like. But it does talk about kind of how we're always looking at things in space and trying to find things that that kind of we can relate to. So one of the earlier, or one of the different people that were talking about this were talking about why people are so fascinated by this type of phenomena, where all of a sudden they see something that they that they can relate to in space. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this up on my screen. See if I can find the right button to bring it up. But when I did bring it up, I thought, yep, that definitely looks like a question mark. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes. So wait, so people saw this in the sky, or it was an image from the telescope?
This was an image that was put together by multiple different angles of camera work. And ultimately, they were able to identify something that looks like a question mark from that.
That's pretty cool.
And I was looking for the kind of the explanation around the camera work. But ultimately, it's two or more galaxies merging, and it looks as if this is something that's really uncommon, and it's a huge learning opportunity for a lot of the people who study this type of thing. It's a projection effect, and what that looks like in the sky.
So it couldn't be seen with the naked eye, right? It was only seen through a telescope?
Correct. Okay. Yep.
Oh, it looks like it's the James Webb telescope.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Hot image of it. Okay, and so people that look at the images that are released to the James Webb saw this and made it go viral. Like, what the hell is a question mark doing in the sky? That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
That's neat.
That is my weird news story for the day.
I love it. I love it.
Is that a snowflake?
We should challenge that. We could also say, hey.
Yeah, we could say, hey, yeah.
It's really amazing to me how when you're looking at stuff on the telescope, especially like the James Webb that's up there now, and they post the difference between that and the Hubble, that's pretty cool. But I think what else is amazing is the things that we see in the galaxy and the things we see in the far outreaches of space all resemble something that we see around here. Like even our neurons are very similar to the way like the star patterns or the galaxy patterns are, and nebulas, and down to like even if you look at tree roots or cross sections of trees or cells, it's just crazy to me how it's all connected like that. I don't know, it's just kind of crazy. I love it.
It's all connected.
That's right, it's all connected.
All
connected. Well, guys, that's it for our Weird Weekly News. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So next week, we ran out of time because we're getting ready to record an episode for our investigation in Boyd, Minnesota. Sorry, the Boyd House. So that episode will be coming out the following Monday, which I think is the 13th. Is that right? Am I correct? Isn't it? Yes, next Monday the 13th that'll come out, and then we will have a part 2 to that where we will release an evidence episode. So join us next Monday for that podcast, and again next Wednesday for our Weird Weekly News. We have a really great schedule booked out for the rest of the year, and then we'll take our break after the first of the year and hit back at you in the spring, but we still got lots to go here yet this year. So with that, everybody stay weird. Thanks for joining us. Ciao.
Bye.